Well, Happy New Year for everyone. First time seeing everyone. We're still at the beginning of the year. I want to say hello to everyone that's here and also everyone that's in our Zoom land. Welcome to our first wellness workshop of the year. As you see the title, we're focused on our heart health. So obviously, in collaboration within February, Valentine's Day, it'll be appropriate to really talk about our cardiovascular health and bring in topics to help you understand how to be healthier in regards to your heart health, as well as how are we loving ourselves through our food. So I want to introduce myself. My name is Rashawn Thornton. Me and my team, we really bring in different types of programming and resources that we for employees in regards to working with you all in individual wellness sessions. I'll talk about some of our other programs that we have, of course, our weight management program. And you get further information about that towards the back end of our presentations where you can kind of sign up and kind of have places to go. So let me first talk about our mission. Our mission is what are we here for? We're here to work with you all in regards to your wellness and your health, help you to overcome barriers, really help champion like your successes. When it comes to wellness, everyone has their own road to walk. And sometimes it's bumpy. And so we bring in different ways that we can provide support for you as employees to help increase your understanding and how you create strategies to help you to be a healthier version of yourself. So it's not just me. I want to introduce my team. Let me went too fast. So I first wanted to talk about Dr. Winter. She is actually the one who oversees this whole programming. She is the one responsible for the integration of this program to WashU. Our main head is Holly Woger. She's actually back here with us. Hi, Holly. She is the one that really recruited and brought all us wonderful dietitians together. And then, as you see here, we have Lisa Hicks. She is our lead dietitian, Lisa. She's here since the beginning of the My Way Health team. So she is actually one of the people that actually birthed our team. And following that, you have a line of dietitians who all are registered dietitians that come with different talents and skill sets. So we all just bring all that together and create dynamic ways so we can continue to build in wellness practices with employees. So talking about our programming. So as I mentioned very briefly in the first introduction. Oh, there we go. The two main things that we provide. We provide individual wellness sessions, which are just 30-minute sessions that we individualize our time in sessions with you all to address anything that's related to your health and wellness. It's not just nutrition, but yes, nutrition is a major factor. It can be stress related. It can be sleep related. It can be how to better manage your day and make sure that you are still putting yourself priority in your life. We also have a step further program. We have offer a year-long weight management program. That's more curriculum based. It's more not handheld, but you're able to actually build these skills and build this knowledge over your span of time. A lot of people say, "Oh, that's a long time," but you find it's a very enriching program, meant and research based to help you build and behavior habits that increases your health along with whatever physical change you want to make along the way. So now I gave you a little bit of brief introduction about what we do, how we operate. I want to pose a question to you all. Wrong direction. Okay, so the question of the day is, what is your favorite way to, let's see if I can read that. Heart your heart. To heart your heart in regards to what were some the things that you do that intentional with building your heart as far as its health, whether it's food related, exercise related, and I would love to gather some info from you guys. So we have our audience here. I'm the one that asked you guys, and we also have our family in Zoom land. So I'll let Carla jump in a few moments, kind of give us some of the response that we have. But let me first ask everyone in the audience there the things that you guys do intentionally for your heart.
Exercise running.
Exercise running. Our heart is a muscle. So the more you exercise, the more you're building that heart muscle. Sometimes we think to build muscle, we need to lift weights. Sometimes cardio activity is actually the unique exercise that we do to build your heart muscle stronger. So yes, that's a great one. Thank you, Sherry. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
Reducing overall stress.
Yeah, sometimes we think our health is really contingent upon food and exercise. It's other out influence that creates pressure on anxiety and things like that that actually contributes to stress in our heart health. So yes, find cope with stress and building some of those coping mechanisms to help you offset the damage. Great, I'm glad you brought that one. Yes, how do you sleep? Yes, getting your body to rest. Sleep is one of the three prongs of wellness. How you move your body, how you feed your body, and how you rest your body. So your body's actually able to heal and recover when we give it that period of time where you can actually rest and then go through the regeneration process, which contributes to the stress. Anyone else in the audience before we tap into our film family? Yes. Try to eat more green vegetables. Bringing in, yeah, bringing in high fiber. Yep, higher fiber-based foods, plant-based foods. They're all different spectrums of how much fiber they provide, but they're a great way to help lower those cholesterol levels, but also help to bring in the fiber that we need to increase our heart health. Let me tap in to the Zoom family. Carla, what do we have here? What do we have as some response?
Yes, we have water aerobics, kayaking, taking a walk.
Water aerobics, kayaking, taking a walk.
Okay, exercise activities, water aerobics, kayaking, taking a walk, what did we say?
Yeah, mindfulness and good sleep.
Good sleep, mindfulness, something you've heard. Yep.
I love these, yeah.
Well, was it anymore?
Running after grandkids.
Bonding with grandkids.
Oh, bringing in influence, bringing in a healthy environment to help cope with stress. Yes. So I think we all kind of have our own things that we find that really helps you all individually. But and thanks for sharing with us. But today we're gonna have Erin. She's gonna come here. She's gonna talk a lot about our heart health. What are some things that we can learn from our body and how we can actually address it through our foods. So we're gonna have some foods to learn about as we prepare for you guys out there. But those who are here, going to actually be able to taste it. I just want to say thank you for listening. Enjoy this presentation. And Erin, I'll let you take it from here.
Thank you guys so much for being here. I'm so excited to see people in person and to have such a great turnout on Zoom as well. So my name's Erin, and I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit more about how we heart our heart. It is Valentine's Day month, but also it's American Heart Month. So let's show ourselves some love. So this presentation, we're going to go through the things that can increase our risk for heart disease, but also understanding the lifestyle modifications, the things that are within our control that can potentially increase our cardiovascular, our heart health. We're going to connect the food and nutrition choices that we make to the biometric markers. That word left me, but it's here. Biometric markers for heart health. And then we are going to talk about shopping and cooking strategies throughout that can help improve your cardiovascular health as well. Oh, we're not advanced. Okay, so there it is, the heart. And so the heart is the center of our circulatory system, the network of veins and arteries that carries not only blood and oxygen to our systems, but also nutrients to help our organs function at like a top notch, if you will. So the heart is divided into two sections. The right side receives oxygen for blood from the body, sends that to the lungs to expel carbon dioxide. The oxygen-rich blood from the lungs goes to the left side and gets sent to the rest of the body. So it is the center of us and our wellness, so we want to make sure we're taking great care. Heart disease is the collective, cardiovascular disease is the collection of diseases and conditions that affect our heart. There's a lot that goes into that. It is the leading cause of death in America, and about 1 in 3 adults in America have some form of heart disease. The great news is that a lot of the risk factors that can contribute to our heart health are within the realm of our control. They can have lifestyle indications that we can actively make things as nutritious and healthy as possible. So that's what we will dig into today. So broadly, cardiovascular disease risk factors can be grouped into 2 categories. Things that are within our control and things that are not. It's important to identify which is which, so we know where to spend our time. We're not going to spend a lot of time on trying to change our age, race, ethnicity, our sex when we're born, family history, these are all things that can contribute to our risk factor disease. Family history and genetics specifically can tie into things like raised blood pressure or cholesterol potentially, but that's also one of those things that we can modulate with our choices. However, being older than 45 for men and older than 55 for women, that is a risk. If you have a family history of early heart disease, and that's defined by if your dad or brother had some form of heart disease before they were 55, or mom or sister before they were 65, that's considered early heart disease. Another indication that things are genetically tied is if your cholesterol starts to go up around the time you're 20 and keeps going up until you're about 65. But you'll take a look at the list here and we'll see there's plenty of other things that are not out of our hands. Our sleep, our physical activity, our nutrition choices, use of tobacco and alcohol, sleep, stress, all that good stuff. So those are the things that we want to focus on, things that we can move the needle. So specifically on the nutrition choices today, we're going to focus on types of fat. We're going to focus on fiber, sodium, and trying to reduce that, and then alcohol as well. So fat, that's where we're going to start. And saturated fat is linked to an increase in our LDL or bad cholesterol. The sources come from primarily animal sources. So we'll see that in meats. We can see that in poultry, higher fat dairy, whole milk or 2%, and butter. Plant-wise, we have coconut oil, palm kernel oil. Those can be plant sources of saturated fat. And by decreasing our saturated fat intake to about 7% or less of our total calories, we can see an 8 to 10% reduction in our LDL cholesterol levels. So in terms of cardiovascular disease and those biometric indicators, this can be a really significant way to decrease saturated fat. So how? One thing we can do is when you're choosing things like beef or pork, selecting round or loin cuts. Those do tend to have the least amount of fat in them. With chicken, turkey, all of your meats, removing the visible fat, and then for the poultry, removing the skin. Those are ways that we can physically remove the fat. If you're cooking ground meat, draining it off, it's another physical removal. Additionally, the cooking method is a way that we can either add fat or subtract fat. So if we're doing things like baking, broiling, stir frying, air frying, these are ways that we are using less fat than perhaps deep frying. So these are all methods that we can actively decrease saturated fat. I wanted to mention the sneaky source, which is a lot of the shelf-stable crackers, pastries, cookies, chips. Those are things that typically have a lot of saturated fat, even though we might not look at them and say, oh, that's like fat. So it's really important to understand the sources and then take a peek at that food label as well to get an indication of what the saturated fat looks like. So in the spirit of balance, we're talking about saturated fat, we're going to talk about unsaturated fat as well. So saturated fats, another way to look at them, by the way, is they're solid at room temperature. Unsaturated fats are more likely liquid at room temperature. And they fall into two categories. There's your monounsaturated fats and your polyunsaturated fats. Both of them can be really beneficial for heart health and specifically your cholesterol. Monounsaturated fats can help lower your LDL cholesterol. The sources tend to be enriched with a lot of great nutrition anyway. But if you look at the sources, things like olive, peanut, canola oil, various nuts, seeds, avocado. Avocado's going to show up here a couple of times. So that can help lower your LDL cholesterol. Polyunsaturated fats is kind of a broader network of fats as well. And that not only can help lower your LDL cholesterol and raise your HDL, but a specific subset of polyunsaturated fats known as omega-3 fatty acids can also help lower your triglycerides, lower the likelihood of potentially having a blood clot and some of these other risk factors for heart disease as well. So the sources here, if you'll notice, there are a lot of nuts and seeds and fish. I indicated the bold fats. So if we're doing cooking substitutions here, we want to make sure we're setting ourselves up here to be successful as well. The ones in bold can handle higher heat. So if we're cooking in the oven and we're just tossing some veggies in an olive oil can handle an oven heat. Whereas if we're maybe cooking things on the stove top, we want something that has what's called a higher smoke point. It can handle more heat before it burns, and that way we're not losing the nutrition benefits. When things burn, they are not as nutritious. It kind of goes the opposite direction as far as health is concerned. So let's get into our first recipe now. This is my favorite food now, I think. So what we're making is a chocolate avocado mousse. And this is going to have a few different ingredients that are going to be helpful for our heart. We're going to start with 2 ripe avocados. Ooh, let's put that in the right place. These avocados were perfect and they were from Dearborn. So we're looking for places that have ones that can break a window. That's where I got mine this week. So avocados are beneficial for a couple reasons. One is they are rich in monounsaturated fat, and they also do have some omega-3 fatty acids in them as well. So when we're talking about the type of fat here, that is our main fat source here, and it is rich in those nutrients that are beneficial for heart health. I'm also adding in cocoa powder. Cocoa powder. There's about 4 tablespoons, I believe. I'm adding in the liquid as well. I'm using regular milk. It's just 3 or 4 tablespoons. You can use any type of milk you want. You can use almond milk, you can use oat milk, whatever floats your boat there. And then I'm adding in 1/4 of a cup of pure maple syrup. And one of the things I want to make sure I note here is we are talking about sweet today. And we are talking about some people love to add in nutrients whenever we can, even if it's with their desserts. Let's add in fiber. Let's add in omega-3 fatty acids. Let's plus up the nutrition. Some people are purists, and they're like, if you're going to give me chocolate cake, it's going to be regular chocolate cake, and that's how I like it. And I say both of it. What we encourage is planning for it. As long as you plan for it. As you can see today, the examples will be the first example. We're plussing up the nutrition. This here is melted chocolate chip, just about 1/4 of a cup. I wanted to also note that as I was adding that pure maple syrup, I found that a lot of recipes, you can modify the sugar content without sacrificing the experience. So if it's calling for sugar, you can cut it in half and likely still have the sweetness, or you can substitute. So maple syrup and honey are what we'll be using today. It's not that they're not sugar. They're a more natural type of sugar. They have a lower glycemic index, so they might not affect our blood sugars quite as quickly, but they come with antioxidants. So that's the plus here. We're having sweetness, but some nutrients along with it. And you can adjust this to whatever your flavor palette is. So it's all in a food processor here. I want everyone to excuse what's going to happen next, and that is creating the I will distract you all with the I want to go on. Just getting to know each other. So this is all ingredients in the food processor, and then we're going to blend it just until it's incorporated. It usually goes pretty quickly. This might be one of the reasons it's my favorite food because of how fast it comes together. So that's it. Yeah, and you'll find people at home who are able to, not able to taste it. The consistency is like chocolate pudding or chocolate mousse. Super sweet and super delicious. But in addition, we're getting the benefits here of fiber from the avocados as well as the healthy fats, and then we're modifying the sweetness content of it based on palate. So hop back in before we get to our next sample here, and we're going to talk about fiber. Fiber has a really big role in heart health for a lot of reasons. So first and most importantly, it is going to help add fullness. If we're eating, we want to feel satisfied from what we're eating, right? Fiber is indigestible. It takes longer to digest. There's 2 types of fiber that we're going to be talking about today. Well, there's only 2, but we'll talk about them. The first one is insoluble fiber, and that one is the indigestible part that adds bulk to our stools. It's the what's found in whole grains. It's also found in fruits and vegetables, kind of the more fibrous part of those foods. The insoluble fiber, which we find in oats and beans, we find in the fleshy parts of fruits and vegetables, that creates a gel in digestion, and it can actually absorb cholesterol and remove it from our body, which is how we can actively work to lower our cholesterol levels. Most of us aren't getting enough fiber. The recommendations for women is up to 25 grams a day, men up to 38. So we're not getting exactly what we need a day as a whole. We found that if you can add in 10 grams of fiber a day, we're going to see those cholesterol numbers go down. It's also linked to lowering blood pressure, helping with healthy weight. And fiber also helps decrease how quickly carbohydrates are absorbed into our bloodstream. So that can help lower our spikes in blood sugar and actively decrease our A1C as well. So one of the risk factors for heart disease is diabetes. So if we can manage blood sugars better, that's going to help have this kind of cascade effect into our heart health as well. So increasing 10 to 25 grams of fiber per day can eventually decrease LDL by up to 5%, which can be quite significant. The one thing I want to note is as we increase fiber, so that nobody is mad at me, we want to do it in a way that is not going to exacerbate discomfort. So one is we recommend just a couple grams at a time to increase, and then increase a couple glasses of water and hold steady for a couple days and then increase again. Otherwise, you might have bloating, discomfort, a lot of GI side effects from just jumping 10 grams of fiber in a day. So doing it incrementally is really recommended. Ways you can do that is eventually shoot to be having 4 servings of fruits and 4 servings of vegetables a day. Having a high fiber cereal like oatmeal in the morning can be a way to do it. Adding beans to your cereal. Oh my God, not your cereal. I mean, if you like it. Adding beans to your salads or soups, or a cereal if you like that, is another way that we can just up the fiber content. Adding fiber can also help achieve a healthy weight as well, as we thought obesity would have a potential leak as well. So sometimes seeing that decrease in weight can help decrease risk as well. So our next recipe is going to have several different sources of fiber that are going to be beneficial, plus some add-ins that are just plus ups for our health as well. So this is our black bean red velvet. Fries that make some red velvet, and it's not super. So when we make these, there's a couple different ingredients that are going to help increase fiber, but they also can be kind of ways to be affordable too. You don't need to buy oat flour. You can just use rolled oats. That's the first ingredient we're adding in. It's a great source of soluble fiber. And we're going to end up blending all our dry ingredients first to essentially create a flour. This is ground flaxseed. So this is a great source of fiber as well, but it's also an amazing source of omega-3 fatty acids, as we saw in the previous slide. If you're going to get flaxseed, get the milled flaxseed. All the good stuff's on the inside of the seeds, and flax seeds are too small for us to crunch and open up when we eat them. So by adding in the milled flaxseed, we can do that. There's also some ways that you can alter. Let's say you don't want to add an egg. You can make what's called a flax egg by mixing in flaxseed and warm water and letting it sit, and it creates something of similar consistency as well. So very versatile ingredient. We have cocoa powder again. Both times I've used this, it's just plain unsweetened cocoa powder that you find in the baking. And then I've got 1/4 teaspoon each of baking soda, baking powder, and salt. So this is our dry ingredient. I'm gonna do this better this time. And we're just gonna blend this first until it looks like a flour, and that'll be about 10 seconds. So if you need to mute, we can do that. That's quicker. So next we're gonna add in our liquid ingredients. That comes from an egg, or if you choose to do a flax egg at home. We've got 1/3 cup of milk. Again, any milk you want. I use low-fat milk, but you can use anything you want. This is 3 tablespoons of canola oil. This is one of those polyunsaturated fat sources, but I want to point out 3 tablespoons is not significant for making 16 brownies, but if the fat or the oil content was higher, in our handouts, we included a yogurt swap sheet, and it has a way that we can substitute out oil or the fat you're baking with for Greek yogurt, and that can lower the fat content, and then we're increasing protein at the same time. The substitution that would need to happen, this is vanilla, by the way, was so insignificant, it wasn't really making a major nutrient difference. And then this is honey. Honey is sweeter than sugar. So if you're substituting out, the ratio is 1 cup of sugar equals 2/3 cup of honey, and then decrease any other liquids by about 1/4 cup, because we're getting honey, getting liquid from the honey. So we're gonna do this just for another few seconds to get it incorporated. And then we're gonna add even more fiber with a cup of black beans, and the red is a 1/2 cup of beets. So the benefit of adding in both of these is fiber. Beans are an excellent source of fiber. Beets have fiber as well, but beets also have something called nitric oxide, which it's a vasodilator. So it can help expand our veins and decrease blood pressure, which can contribute to heart health as well. So we're gonna blend this just until it's incorporated. I'd like to note that this is the last time I'm using this today. And then we are incorporating 1/2 cup of chocolate chips, and then we'll top it with chocolate as well. And Lisa's gonna go ahead and start passing out for those here, the brownie samples.
What do we think?
Oh, they have them all. Oh my gosh.
For me in there?
What do we think? You can be honest. Beets are, I mean, we can't completely mask them, but they're there. Yeah, do you have a question?
What type of beets did you use?
Oh, I'm so glad you brought that up, because I ended up using in this canned sliced beets because that was the most widely available for where I was shopping. However, Lisa's opened my eyes to all of the beet options. So here, you got these from Costco, correct?
Yes.
And
So,
yeah, you want to talk about them?
these are a staple in my kitchen because I love beets. I don't love cooking beets. I don't love, oh, and I am not in camera, right?
Here it is.
I'm gonna come up behind for just a moment. So I didn't get my camera. But for the folks on Zoom. So I just wanted to show that these are great shelf stable products. I buy them in Costco. They come in a 3-pack. And if cooking your own beets feels a little daunting, whether it is the hardness of that beetroot, or you're not quite sure what to do with those greens that can be kind of standy and attached to them, this is an awesome convenience. And so you could just easily substitute one of these pre-cooked steamed beets in this recipe, and then use the other ones like in salad, or you can reheat them and throw them in the side with the dinner as well. And then there's also refrigerated options that you can buy. These are from Deerberg's. Trader Joe's also sells something similar, so you'll find them in the produce section, where you'll find bagged salads. And again, these are just a really great convenience, and they have a pretty decent shelf life, but because those are shelf stable, they'll last a little bit longer.
Thank you. Yeah, not always a commonly found household item. So I'm just mixing in these chocolate chips, and then this is going to be a thick batter, and I have a great pan already, and just pour it in, and then we will top it with more chocolate. You can use dark chocolate, semi-sweet chocolate, whatever kind of chocolate you like. We won't waste too much time doing this because we already have them made. But this is the topping, and they go in the oven at 375 for about 20 to 22 minutes was the recipe. I found that mine got done right at 20 minutes because I wanted them to be a little bit fudgy. I made a double batch this time, and I cooked them for 30, and I think they could have gone 28, if I'm gonna be honest. So just for future when you're making them at home.
Erin, we have a few questions in the chat
Oh.
about beets.
I want to hear them.
Yeah, people are asking the brand of the beets and the section at Costco you got them from.
The brand of the section. Okay, the Costco beets are green. Oh, yep. Nope, that doesn't say green. GEFEN. Guess it?
Oh, that's fine. Okay.
And what section?
And you're gonna catch me in a little bit of a lie, but my mom picks them up for me at Costco. So I can follow.
And that's what they look like. These ones
No,
were,
they're shelf stable, not refrigerated, not frozen.
Frozen. Okay.
and these were Melissa's peeled and steamed, and these are the ones I got at Dearborn, and they're in the refrigerated section in produce by all the vegetables that are refrigerated.
Put them on the table so they can, yeah,
Oh.
they can see them on the. There you go.
There we are. Okay, what, any other questions?
Do we know what makes that shelf stable? Oh, yeah, so similar to the process that you would have for canned beets. That is it. So it's not a significant source of any type of additives such as sodium. There's no added salt to this product. This is just another great example of unnecessary additives put into foods such as salt for that preserving method. But because they are vacuum sealed, they're shelf stable, and they're shelf stable for about 3 months is the average that I see with these. So it's not like a canned good that'll be shelf stable for 2 years. So it's more of the preservation packaging.
So we have someone in the chat that wants honest opinions about how those brownies taste.
All right, let's hear it. You like them?
Yeah, I'm seeing some thumbs up. Good.
I want you to know, I was washing my hands real quick because I had to wipe my nose. It was itching so bad. I'm so sorry. So the process here was I tried a few different recipes until I found something that tasted a little like me. So I found these to be palatable. My 4-year-old didn't. She doesn't find much palatable. So, all right, we're gonna go back into the PowerPoint now. Oh wait, were there any more questions? No? Okay, so we'll hop back into the PowerPoint and we'll talk about, this is a great segue because we're going to talk about sodium, just as we found out that shelf-stable beets are not a significant source of sodium. Salt can be a major contributor to blood pressure. So, the sodium or salt, as we might more commonly refer to it as, is a major sneaky nutrient if we talk about kind of the shelf-stable fats as well. Sodium is the recommended intake through the DASH diet, which is dietary approaches to stopping hypertension or high blood pressure. The recommendation is 1,500 to 2,300 milligrams of salt a day. Just to quantify that for you, 2,300 milligrams of salt is a teaspoon of salt. So a lot of people might say, oh, I don't salt my foods, or I don't use a salt shaker. I'll tell you that most of the salt, about 70% of the salt in our diet comes from processed foods. A lot of those things found in the shelf-stable area. So the fact those were shelf-stable and that high sodium is, dietitian nerd out moment. It's found in fast food, eating at restaurants. Canned foods can be a sneaky source. Canned beets I did not find to be significant. Depends, but you also can kind of shop and look at labels. If we're looking for a number, if we can try and keep it under 200, 140 milligrams or less is technically low salt. So to keep that in mind. On average, the average American consumes about 3,400 milligrams of salt a day. So if you can decrease, there's a lot of research to support decreasing sodium can have really positive decreases in blood pressure as well. So this is one of those nutrients that we've got to pay attention to these other sources and check those labels as well. Prepackaged foods, fast foods, restaurants, frozen meals as well can be another sneaky one. So if you're getting frozen foods, especially if they have sauces or seasoning already in there, that can be an indicator to that higher sodium too. So sometimes you're better off getting, let's say, the plain frozen vegetables and add your own salt, add your own seasoning to them to make them flavorful too. So that is one nutrient that we're not going to have a recipe for, but there's recipes in there as well. We're sticking true to sweets today. And then the final nutrient or food that I want to talk about is alcohol. So there is a lot of recommendations from the American Heart Association around how much alcohol is recommended. So for women, it is 1 drink or less per day. Men is 2 drinks or less per day. And we don't get the luxury of like, whatever we feel like a drink is. Pretty defined as 12 ounces of beer, 5 ounces of wine, 1.5 ounces of 80 proof distilled spirits, or 1 ounce of 100 proof distilled spirits. So even a moderate amount of alcohol intake is not necessarily risk-free. So there's been some research out there about the benefits of drinking, let's say, red wine and the heart health. The problem is that those studies didn't necessarily control for just that factor. So very likely it could be that the people who are able to drink a glass of red wine in the evening might come from higher income households. They might have more education. They can concurrently be eating a really nutritious diet rich in fiber and antioxidants and exercising regularly and all these other benefits. So the recommendation is not, if you're not drinking wine, start drinking wine. I've found that probably the nutrition, the food choices, and the exercise choices, the stress modifications and sleep, that's going to be far more impactful than throwing in a glass of wine. I do want to point out that excessive alcohol intake, though, can really increase risk for not only heart disease, but cancers and a lot of other life-threatening diseases, depression, birth defects, all kinds of things. Excessive alcohol intake, I'm going to get this correct here, is defined as 3 or more drinks in a day, or 7 or more drinks in a week for women or men under 65 or over 65. And then more than 4 drinks on any given day, or 14 drinks in a week for men up to age 65. So that's the way to kind of quantify to see where you fall in that scale, because any benefits that you might be getting from flavonoids in wine will be negated by kind of the total alcohol intake on your body. So in the spirit of decreasing spirits, we have a mocktail for you. And it does need a blender, but I did that already for everybody. So what I have here is brewed mint green tea. If you have a kettle, I love that, but I use boiling water on the stove top and put 6 tea bags in with 6 cups of water. Additionally, on the stove, I put in 1 cup of water, 1 cup of wild blueberries, a 1/4 cup of maple syrup, and 1 teaspoon of ground ginger. So I've experimented with this recipe as well. You can use fresh ginger. For every teaspoon of ground ginger, it's a 1/4 cup of ground ginger. I also use ginger paste, and for every teaspoon of ground ginger, it's 4 teaspoons of ginger paste. I found that the ground ginger or the ginger paste didn't dissolve quite as well, and it didn't leave a very clear end result. It tasted fine, it just didn't look pretty. So I boiled that for 5 minutes, ran it through the blender very carefully, and now I have this mesh strainer, and I'm going to pour the result into this. It catches everything and then creates this really pretty blue drink. The color comes from anthocyanins, which have really positive heart health benefits. I also have here, and I want to make sure that y'all can see here, but I'm also going to show the camera, is I have wild blueberries and I have regular old-fashioned blueberries. And I thought it didn't matter as far as flavor went, so I kind of tried both. The wild blueberries have a more intense blueberry flavor. So they say they have twice the antioxidants. It's just a very compact, packs a lot of punch blueberry. It has twice the antioxidants, twice the flavonoids or anthocyanins. And then blueberries, you can see that these are, I'm gonna come up to the camera. Yes, you have a question?
Your wild blueberries canned?
These were both frozen. Both frozen. Oh, they asked if they were canned, and they are frozen. So look at these chunky ones. These are the regular, and then these guys are just teeny tiny. So I found that most places that carry frozen fruit carry both. So, with the exception of Aldi, I didn't quite find the variety there, but, Target, Dierberg, Schnucks, a lot of the major grocery chains has both. So Lisa is passing around or she will. What she's adding to that is a splash of carbonated water. So that's giving you the kind of the bubbliness that you might find in a cocktail. The ingredients themselves, the green tea, a study of 1,001 people in China found that regular tea drinking at least 3 times a week decreased the risk of heart disease, dying from a heart attack, stroke by 25%. So green tea has a lot of antioxidant benefits, but there's also this tie into heart health. The antioxidants found in ground ginger is the same as found in ginger paste or fresh ginger. There's a lot of antioxidants there. And then blueberries not only are a great source of antioxidants, but we get fiber from them as well. We just talked about all the fiber benefits. So all these kind of blended together. You can use honey in place of maple syrup if you want. You can play with that sweetness too. It's just a matter of how sweet you want things. You can also use a flavored water as well as flavored sparkling water. We have plain here. You can get like a pomegranate one or a lime or something to try and complement flavors too. So there's a lot of versatility in this as well. Any questions on this recipe? Keep rocking along. Was there a question?
We've got a question in the chat. This, Denise says, not a ginger fan. Is there something that can be substituted?
Oh, that's a great question. You know, I found that the ginger added a bit of freshness, but this is kind of, I guess, dependent on your palate. I think it would be delicious without it. You could probably add cinnamon as well and get a great flavor. Yes,
I hate ginger and I don't.
you don't taste it that much? Okay. We had a comment that they do not like ginger and they don't really taste it that much. It was 1 teaspoon of ground ginger for 6 8-ounce cups. So you could also decrease quantity if you want to play with the freshness of it. I think cinnamon would be kind of fun too. Lisa, you're great with flavors too. Any recommendations?
Mint.
Mint. Oh, it's
But
green
adding
mint
mint
tea.
after the fact.
Yeah, that was one of the recommendations for garnishing as well, is adding mint and a few blueberries too.
I could also see basil being nice, if you're somebody who's like,
Basil?
that you have a basket of basil in your summer garden. Be a nice little garden.
So any other questions?
We have a question from a different Denise. Is coffee bad for heart health or is it neutral?
That's a great question. So in general, caffeine is found to have an acute effect on blood pressure, meaning that it's not a chronic lasting effect once it leaves your system. If you do have a history of heart disease, though, we usually recommend deferring to your physician, though, because they probably have more of a preference on what happens with your blood pressure throughout the day. In general, about 100 milligrams of caffeine a day is considered safe, but if you do have increased risk of heart disease, that can be a modification that your doctor recommends, is choosing caffeine free. Anyone else have an input on that too?
You covered it. Thank you.
All right.
Oh, we have another question, Maggie.
Oh, we have another question.
So many salts on the market, pink, Himalayan, then there's regular white salt. Do you prefer one of these over the other?
Oh, like the salts, what kind of salt we recommend or prefer? So that kind of comes down to a little bit of preference. One thing I will say about good old fashioned like table salt is it's iodized. It has iodine in it. However, things like sea salt or like salt or things that have larger grains, sometimes we end up using less just because there's more air and space taken up in them. However, all of them across the board have the same kind of impact as far as blood pressure risk is concerned and the kind of long-term effects. In westernized communities where we see a higher salt intake, we see that blood pressure creep up as ages go on, or as their age increases. So across the board, the blood pressure effects are pretty similar. Right. We can hop back in here. So kind of putting it all together as far as what the nutrition, kind of our recommendations are. Ooh, there's alcohol. Ooh, I'm going the wrong way, that's why. I'm sorry, everyone. New slide advancer. Okay. So, as far as putting it all together, the recommendations that we've covered so far is we want to first and foremost start simple. Meet yourself where you're at. If you feel like modifying the sugar content in the things you're making, stuffing out honey for sugar. If you feel like making a fat swap, decreasing the saturated fat choices and increasing things like avocado or flaxseed or the type of oil you're using. Pick one place to start, something you feel like is easiest to achieve, you can be consistent with. A guide that you can use is called My Plate. And this is just the layout where we make half your plate fruits and vegetables. It's a great way to work towards achieving that 4 servings of fruits and 4 servings of vegetables a day to help increase the fiber benefit. The other half is divided between protein and a whole grain. So that's one guide. We want to minimize saturated fat and increase that mono, poly, unsaturated fats and the omega-3 fatty acids. We want to limit sugar. We want to limit sodium and alcohol and maximize the fiber, the unsaturated fat. So these are ways that we can kind of tie everything up in ways that we can apply them across. Additionally, and this came up when we were brainstorming, nutrition is so important. It's not the only factor that impacts our heart health. There's the additional lifestyle factors. So there's been some ties to decreasing body weight and seeing improvements in not only risk for diabetes, but cholesterol levels, blood pressure, heart disease risk can be tied to that. We have a program, My Way to Healthy Weight, that you can potentially participate in to help what we have available to help guide that for you. Increasing physical activity, at least 30 minutes a week. I want to point out that the wellness consultations that we do have, we can kind of cover any health topic too as we go through this. We can talk about physical activity, sleep hygiene too, getting that 7 to 9 hours of sleep is the recommendation to improve overall health. Stress management, finding ways to manage stress, that's also something that we can help with too. We have a lot of tools to help minimize stress. We have an EAP as well. I'm going to talk to Bridget here soon too, and talk about that as well. And then we also have a tobacco cessation program. We partnered with the American Lung Association. The program's called Freedom from Smoking. It's completely free to you. If that's something anyone wants to make a change in their life, they can meet with certified tobacco cessation specialists and potentially get nicotine replacement therapy as well. So we have a lot of tools and resources to help contribute to this overall wellness as far as heart health goes. So now I'm going to turn things over briefly to Bridget Sims. She is our United Healthcare Nurse Advocate. She is just for WashU and connecting us to our benefits, and she's going to kind of take things from here as far as what resources are available to you.
Hi, everyone. I am Bridget Sims. I'm the United Healthcare Nurse Advocate, and I'm here for you. So I am a registered nurse. I've been a nurse for about 30 years, working in various areas, but I love working in this role because I really help connect people with resources that they have within WashU and also within United Healthcare. So I've got a flyer with my information, but it's also on the slide. So if you have questions about your UHC benefits, about, I want to keep my heart healthy, but I need to find a provider. I need a primary care doctor. I'm really grateful. I want to stop and say too, I'm really grateful for this presentation today because they presented such awesome information. Heart disease is up in younger women. Women between the ages of 45 and 60 and even younger. And they're thinking it's due to young women having developing heart disease because they've had undiagnosed health problems like hypertension, like high cholesterol, like diabetes that they weren't aware about, that they weren't aware of. And so then later on, they develop heart disease. It's important to have a relationship with a primary care provider. So I can help you if you're looking for a primary care provider. Who Cares got some awesome resources right here at WashU. So I can connect you to those resources. Also, if if you have questions, maybe about drinking, about smoking, and you're wondering, you know, am I drinking too much? Or I've got a friend that I'm concerned about. United Healthcare has got a really cool substance use helpline. It's a 1-800 number. It's 24/7. It's completely anonymous, where you can call and speak to a counselor, and you can just ask questions. Hey, I've got a question. Let's talk this through. If there's something where, let's say, further care is needed, that person will help the person who calls navigate benefits, figure out what resources are available. So the person who's calling doesn't have to do all that. So we've got a lot of really, really great resources here at WashU and with United Healthcare. We've got the EAP, your Employee Assistance Program. Just a lot of really, really great resources. If you have questions, always the My Way to Health team is here. They're excellent. They can help you with so many issues as far as health and just being healthy, not just diet, not just weight, sleep, other things as well. We can also connect you to those resources. But UHC has a lot of resources too, and I can help you if you have questions about getting connected with the provider or knowing, well, how much might this cost me, or how can I navigate this? I can help with those resources as well. So I have some flyers, I have some information. You can always reach out to me by phone or by email. If you want to meet in person, I can do that too. I talk to employees all the time and just help them. So if you want to talk to a person, sometimes we don't want to do the number and press 1 and press 2. I'm here to assist. So thank you.
So much. You're wonderful. Thank you. I also want to point out, just if anyone didn't get a chance to jot down the information, I'm going to send an email at the conclusion of this that not only has all the resources, but I'll have rigid resources as well. So people viewing at home or via Zoom or in person, I'm going to send resources for you as well. Here it is. So the last bit that I have for you all, is just how to connect with us as well. So this, if you want to schedule a wellness consultation, if you are interested in the My Way to Healthy Weight program, anything at all, this is how you can connect with us as well. Now I want to just turn things back to you all and see if there's any additional questions that I can answer, any comments, anything at all. Start with the room, anything? Not in the chat. Anything there?
When cooking on the stove, do you recommend an oil spray over the actual oil to help reduce the amount you're using?
Well, that's a great question. So oil sprays, you can really use a minimal amount. I have found in some of my surfaces, though, like ceramic or things like that, it's not really recommended to use the cooking spray. It kind of creates a sticky residue on there that's difficult to remove. If we're gonna just pour olive oil or avocado oil or something like that, what I do recommend using is maybe measuring spoons. I think if anybody has had the joy of tracking with us before, the difference that actually measuring versus eyeballing it can make. So using that.
They're asking when's the next class.
Oh, so glad you asked. Our next wellness workshop is going to be in April, on April
11th.
11th?
Mhm.
April 11th. It's going to be on time management. So that one will not have samples, but we will still offer hybrid. The one, I just want to set expectations. No, but we will in person. And then June 8th is the next cooking demonstration. So it's about every other month, we'll have some form of either live presentation or workshop with samples and cooking demonstration. And in the email I send out at the end later on today, I can include the future dates as well. Just so you guys can mark the calendar.
Erin, do you want to show off these samples that everybody got to see for those
Oh,
that
yeah.
to maybe entice them
Yeah.
to either
The
try to
brownies actually look a little bit better
or
than.
come visit us?
This has the avocado mousse. This wasn't quite a full serving either. This is honestly my favorite. I'm not like that and frozen custard. So any other questions or comments or anything else that I can help with?
Oh, Julie is asking, how is the moose?
How's the mood?
It was really cool.
Oh, yeah, excellent. Resounding.
Yeah, what was your favorite? Yeah. The favorite is the. Yeah.
Yay.
But the brownies were okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
More yeah, they are dense. I will say that. I love
I like a fudgy brownie.
Yeah,
right
yeah.
on top for it.
Yeah, and I think your tip about undercooking it a little. If you
Yeah.
want it fudgier, you can also play with it.
yeah,
And everyone's oven varies.
very,
I mean,
yeah.
My own oven varies from recipe to recipe.
But the little nobody would know.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Well, thank
Yeah,
you
thank
so
you.
much for joining. Thank you for being here.
And we actually have extra samples. So you can
We're
take
gonna
it.
keep that around. No. Well, thank you so much. Keep an eye out for an email from me later on today. And I'll send the resources as well. There will also be a survey, so please give your feedback. I want to make this as kind of personalized and meet the need as much as possible. So please give feedback. Great. Thanks, everyone. Have a good rest of your week.
Here, you can take them as you're going up. Or do you want to take